Let's talk about Rudy Giuliani. Let's get him on the screen. So Rudy Giuliani, being Rudy Giuliani, went on Face the Nation yesterday. And, this dude can't go, he's got a vested interest in promoting false narratives about the black community. This is what he makes hay on. This is his cup of tea, I guess. This is just where he excels, is pushing this narrative. And so he went on Face the Nation yesterday, and I want to read I want to show you a couple of things that he said. And he was talking specifically about the Black Lives Matter movement and violence in the black communities. So let's look and see what he says. He said, number one, he said, you have to go out and teach your children that the real danger to them is not the police. The real danger to them 99 out of 100 times, 9,900 out of 1,000 times, which makes no sense, Rudy, are the other black kids that are going to kill them. That's how they're going to die. Actually, I guess I could just keep going. His next statement was, so if you want to protect black lives, then you have to protect black lives not only against the police, which happens rarely, although with tremendous attention, which happens every 14 hours in Chicago, every 14 hours, and we never hear from Black Lives Matter. All right, number one, this is the same exact talking point that Rudy Giuliani has. Every time there is a police officer who kills a black person, they go and find old man Rudy Giuliani, who's obviously not as sharp as he used to be because a lot of that was incoherent. And they bring him on to spout these same talking points because of, I guess, his credentials in New York in reducing crime, using draconian policies, stop and frisk, right? Using all of the policies that he used to reduce crime. So now he's an expert on crime in the black community. Yet and still, when he comes on, he continues to forward the same false narrative or a distracting narrative. He deflects in order to change the conversation from the reality that people absolutely have the right to protest against people in power, deputized to protect and serve, abusing that power and killing people. We do not have to silence our voices against police officers killing black people or white people or any people simply because of violence in our own communities. That's number one. Number two, you're trying to promote black on black crime as though it is some type of phenomenon in and of itself, separate from every other community. And I believe the rate is about 90% of African Americans are, and this is what he was trying to get at, 90% of African Americans are killed by African Americans. Very true. But did you know 85% of white Americans are killed by white Americans? And I believe a comparable percentage of Hispanics kill Hispanics. The point is, people kill people they know. And if anything, this simply speaks to the fact that many of our communities are still segregated. Many of our communities are still localized where the people you know are generally the people who are going to kill you. It's very rare that you see random killings. People who kill people they know. And so 90% of black people kill black people, 85% of white people kill white people. Should we all be quiet when we're killed by police officers? Should the family of Dylan Noble say nothing about the killing of their son because 85% of white people are killed by white people? Should Dylan Noble's father and mother have to go and march in wherever all of the crimes for white people, whatever, because we don't have a city like Chicago for white people, right? Well, Chicago is like the end all to be all for black on black crime. What city, we know how to point out white poverty, but we're not going to point out white, 85% of white people. We don't have a city to make it the model or the example. But should Dylan Noble's family be silent on the murder of their son because 85% of white people are? No, it makes absolutely no sense. It is deflection. And that's all they bring Rudy Giuliani on to talk about. Let's look at his next quote. And this was directly towards Black Lives Matter and black people in general. He said, they sing rap songs about killing police officers, and they talk about killing police officers, and they yell it out at their rallies, and police officers hear it. when you say Black Lives Matter, that is inherently racist. Rudy, so much. You ever hear something so stupid it just makes your head hurts? Okay. Saying Black Lives Matter is inherently racist only because there is a concerted effort by conservative media in particular to imbue a racist connotation on Black Lives Matter for the purposes of silencing Black Lives Matter. Because, as I stated last week, if we ever have to unpack the real meaning and the need for Black Lives Matter, then we're going to have to unpack a lot more than just white officers killing black people. We're going to have to unpack the systemic problems that ultimately lead to it, the systemic problems that actually kept Alton Sterling out at midnight selling CDs on the side of the road at a liquor store so he can make some money. We're going to have to address the fact that he was unable to find employment, and that unemployment in so many African-American communities is so ridiculous that crime is often the result, because as many studies have shown time and time again, Rudy, crime is an economic phenomenon. Where there is poverty, there is increased crime. And where there's increased crime, there is increased opportunities for police abuse. So if we ever had the opportunity to unpack why police officers kill so many African Americans and why Black Lives Matter is so necessary, then we would have to address the systemic problems behind our entire political and economic system. And conservatives, above all else, refuse to ever allow that conversation. And so they want to silence Black Lives Matter. They want you to put down your protests. They want you to put it down now before you realize just how efficacious your protests can be. And so they're doing everything they can to try to silence it by imbuing a connotation of racism, saying that it's inherently racist to say Black Lives Matter. No, it's only racist in your mind because you're trying to force it to be racist. Because nothing he says here actually follows through logically to mean that Black Lives Matter is racist. The only way Black Lives Matter could actually be racist is if Black Lives Matter was trying to assert supremacy above any other race. And the reality of it is, if we were in the position to assert black supremacy over and above any other race, then there would be no need for us to even say Black Lives Matter. I probably have 100 other things to say about that, but I'm not. But I will finish with this as we get ready to get out of here, because it's already past my time. Boy, I said that just like a preacher. God, that's what preachers say. That's what preachers say right before they go in for another 30 minutes. But no, I'm going to end it here. Here's the thing. Here's where Black Lives Matter needs to go. I'll talk about North Carolina tomorrow. Here's where Black Lives Matter has to go. Every time somebody brings up black on black crime, particularly in Chicago, Black Lives Matter, one, needs to demonstrate that they have been there, because they have been there. There are plenty of activists and organizations that are there on a weekly basis. But never mind that. The bigger point is this. Black Lives Matter needs to become not just a racial justice platform, but an economic progressivism platform. Because at the root of a lot of these murders, at the root of the police systemic oppression that happens, it's happening in poor and marginalized communities. It's not just happening in black communities, it's happening in poor communities. And if you see that there's a direct parallel between police violence and black on black crime, and that parallel, that common thread is poverty. And so every time they bring up black on black crimes, Black Lives Matter needs to be there ready to say, you know what, let's talk about that. Because if there were jobs in the black community, if there was not a desert of jobs, a desert of opportunities, just barren. The black communities have been gutted by an economic system. If we did not have that problem, there will be options for black people. There would be options for Hispanic people. There would be options for people who live in these ghettos. The black white supremacist David Clark, I believe, Sheriff Clark, you know, the black white supremacist from Dave Chappelle, he said last week, we don't need to fix the police. We need to fix the ghettos. You know what? We need to fix the police and we need to fix the ghettos, but you're not willing to have the conversations necessary to fix the ghettos, because the conversations necessary to fix the ghettos, they are an economic conversation. And you don't want to have that. And this is why Black Lives Matter needs to incorporate an economic revolution. I don't care if you don't want Bernie Sanders, kick him to the, I don't care. That's irrelevant at this point. What's relevant at this point is that if you want to stop the black on black crime, tell you what, we want to stop it too. And the fix is not police oppression and militarized communities. The fix is an economic revolution for all of the economically ravaged communities, for all of the economically marginalized community. But you know what? They don't want that. All they want to do is use black on black crime to deflect from racial justice issues. So I say we hit them where it hurts. We hit them on both. Because you're not going to see the type of marginalization by police officers in the wealthy and affluent communities. You're not. And if we can find a way to revolutionize these economically barren and deprived communities, then we can do both. So Black Lives Matter needs to be both. I'll unpack that more another day. It's already 10:15. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog, join the Progressive Army, and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. It's Ben Dixon! If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
Consider becoming a Patreon. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.